Yeah. Esquece de ir lá no poder aqui.
Vamos ver? Olha lá. Temos que passar aí. Tens de ligar para a mão.
Tenho que ir dentro da gaveta da minha casa. Yeah. Yeah? Okay. Whoa. I will try that.
Luís, arranja-me só a tripla.
O meu viver é te esperar.
Não, isso não é que eu estou a dizer.
Não posso esquecer o teu olhar, longe dos olhos meus, longe dos olhos meus. Não posso esquecer o teu olhar, longe dos olhos meus. Ah, o meu viver não posso esquecer o teu olhar, longe dos olhos meus, longe dos olhos meus.
Let me know if you're there.
João, tem que acabar,
Ok.
Never mind. Never mind.
Do you need anything else? Max, do you need anything else? Should I sell it right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow, it's like Christmas.
And that's like,
We did like all of this yesterday night.
Yes. Because yesterday when you left, it was nothing of this, right?
Yeah, it was not the same.
It is a bit different.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this row for the speakers. If you want to listen to other talks or to session, you go to this row. For the plus ones, for instance, if Jacob is presenting and Emily, you want to see his session because you're his plus one in his session, we have these two seats in the front.
Yeah, we should follow her. Where is it again?
Hello.
Do you see there? These are the four steps.
And after, maybe in the back.
Yes.
Okay,
We have this row and this. For instance, for plus ones that are not on the session. If you want to stay together and the row is I'm so glad it was 3 or 4.
No sorriso veio a verdade que pode te curar. Respeito a todas as cores que a vida te brinda. Desejo e glória a vida pra nunca machucar. Só ter na face aquela doçura de criar.
Appellhater Hand, so.
Ja, voll. Spiel doch mal Ständchen. Okay. Vor Monaten keine Tasten mehr angewendet.
Ups.
Aber Paul, ich mache das dann trotzdem, also einmal zwischendurch kurz.
Three speakers, but I don't think Paul's got plus one.
I think they I don't know, like I don't know how they got in, but they were happy to do this. But everyone
Is that okay?
Is that okay? Do you want?
Can I go?
Yeah. Do you want me to?
No, it stays the same thing.
Thank you. I know the university. So, yeah, I'm not
I'll get you coffee. No problem. Okay, I have it over there. I cannot see exactly what it is over there. Okay. I'm not with my glasses. But if it is piano, it is. Or keyboard, it definitely is. We have the electricity house. Yeah, that's our electricity. You will play between before the Q&A, after the first and after the second session. On the third one, we'll not have your PC active for the Q&A and have your PC afterwards.
The after party is right here.
Yeah, it's on the garden, I believe.
But there's a coming back.
Let's hope the weather gets better.
Yeah, that's very important.
Weather is really, really good. And today it's just, I don't know what happened.
But of course we have extra most of that. This one's actually pretty cool. Yes.
Jot down your schemes, create a revolution. I give you rocks and stones and flowers and gems. And you open up the store and put a price on them. Give you breeze to cool off your head. Oh, but you would rather sit in that condition instead. Oh, ungrateful, so ungrateful. Oh, you're hateful, hateful, you're hateful. Oh, if I were the earth, I'd quake too. I'd be so mad at you for destroying me. If I were the earth, I would quake too. I'd shake some sense in you. So I can just keep on all this confusion. Sail across my seas to war on your enemies. Just rub my face through your delusion. I give you plants and fruit and grains and seeds. You prefer to eat the kind of food that dies and bleeds. I give you hills and mountains to roam. Yet you carve devil's faces in the middle of my stone. Ungrateful, so ungrateful. Oh, you're hateful, you're hateful, you're hateful. Oh, why do you keep revolving around the sun? You don't care what my seasons bring. No, you just wanna lay at the tanning salon or sit at home watching channels change. Why do I keep revolving around the sun? Getting dizzy from my daily spin. I gotta keep looking at this
This is an initiative of the TED Conference.
Sun, you don't care what my seasons bring.
From Kenya to Colombia, from Iraq to Korea, in slums, in schools, in prisons, and in theatres, every day people gather at TEDx events around the world to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. Today, you are part of a global conversation about our shared future. So what is this TEDx? TEDx is an initiative of the TED Conference, a non-profit devoted to ideas worth spreading. We grant free licenses to allow TED-like events to spread globally. This event today is based on the TED Conference format and ideals, but is independently organized.
Si, alô, som, e.
Pode invocar o seu santo que eu não vou. Pode esperar sentada baiana que eu não vou. Não vou porque não posso resistir à tentação. Se ela sambar, eu vou sofrer. Esse diabo sambando é mais mulher. E se eu deixar, ela faz o que bem quer. Não vou nem amarrado, porque sei, se ela sambar, lá vem a baiana de saia rodada, sandália bordada, vem me convidar para sambar. Mas eu não vou. Lá vem a baiana, coberta de contas, pisando nas contas, achando que eu sou o seu ioiô. Mas eu não vou. Lá vem a baiana, mostrando os encantos, falando nos santos, dizendo que é filha do Senhor do Fim. Mas pra cima de mim, pode jogar seu quebranto que eu não vou. Pode rodar a baiana que eu não vou. Pode esperar sentada baiana que eu não vou. Pode esperar sentada baiana que eu não vou. Pode esperar sentada baiana que eu não vou.
Offen, wir auch nicht. Wir preferably
were able just to carry, place it perfectly on the...
Tudo fica mais bonito quando você está por perto. Você me levou ao delírio, por isso eu confesso. Os seus beijos são ardentes. Quando você se aproxima, o meu corpo sente. Os seus beijos são ardentes. Quando você se aproxima, o meu corpo sente. Vem pra cá, deusa do amor. Vejam o bloco Olodum ao passar na avenida, todos cantando felizes de bem com a vida, caminhando lado a lado. Formamos um belo casal, somos dois namorados no swing dessa banda. Balanço mais forte, alicerce que tem nesse mundo. O cupido me flechou. Foi no bloco Olodum que encontrei meu amor. Vem pra cá, deusa do amor. Vem me embalar, neném. Taran, 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 taran.
Então depois tu, como estás mais móvel, depois a gente vê.
I need to go outside again to re-open our...
Aponta lá.
Yeah, exactly. I build up and just go out and run outside. No, like... Yeah, they're always outside. Exactly. When piano starts, you bring a free Q&A if they're not always sitting inside. You bring a free Q&A, Jenny can go here, and we will re-open the door for them. But Jimmy is calling them in. If they are outside, he's calling them from outside, otherwise they are inside. Everybody will be coming outside. Outside and come in, okay. Okay. So we are going up, so we are going
Tudo fica mais bonito quando você está por perto. Você me levou ao delírio, por isso eu confesso. Os seus beijos são ardentes. Quando você se aproxima, o meu corpo sente. Os seus beijos são ardentes. Quando você se aproxima, o meu corpo sente. Vem pra cá, deusa do amor. Veja o bloco Olodum ao passar na avenida, todos cantando felizes de bem com a vida, caminhando lado a lado. Formamos um belo casal, somos dois namorados no swing dessa banda. Balanço mais forte, alicerce que tem nesse
Anna, is there only one presentation on the file?
You are setting up the stage, but there is no...
Kannst du das einmal aufmachen und ich gucke mir das an. Ich weiß, was gerne ist.
Kenya to Colombia, from Iraq to Korea, in slums, in schools, in prisons, and in theatres. Every day, people gather at TEDx events around the world to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. Today, you are part of a global conversation about our shared future. So what is this TEDx? TEDx is an initiative of the TED Conference, a non-profit devoted to ideas worth spreading. We grant free licenses to allow TED-like events to spread globally. This event today is based on the TED Conference format and ideals, but is independently organized by your local community. So please make sure to thank the team of volunteers.
We are on the outside.
Just pretend, let's keep the door open. You know, that's open the door. Okay, you guys, take a bath. That's one. That's that. That's three.
Kenya to Colombia, from Iraq to Korea, slums, schools, prisons, and in theatres. Every day, people gather at TEDx events around the world to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. Today, you are part of a global conversation about our shared future. So what is this TEDx? It's an initiative of the TED Conference, a non-profit devoted to ideas worth spreading. We grant free licenses to allow TED-like events to spread globally.
Are you presenter? Is that the presenter? Okay, now.
Nee, nicht ich. Jemand anderes.
Look at Zoo, because you're going to come
Ich weiß nicht, wer auf welchem No, era um grande.
Now I'm going to look for another slide with more text than this one.
Okay.
So we guide ourselves by the largest.
Yeah, let's pretend you put this away, we put it like there also. Use João, vai depositar em cima da caixa que vai dar uma lá dentro.
Sorry.
It's like this. We need to see if she gets visibility for the stage.
A partitura é o iPad e o carro. We are just taking this music exercise out.
No, like it's should be the last 5 minutes achieve the biggest level. I will try to do my best and then we'll see what works.
Das läuft, hast du den Rest noch in Größe?
Que é preto.
E pronto, não, somos nós, mas as coisas
I need the notes because I think I am really need to know.
Yeah.
You will see what
Ich kann dir diese Frage beantworten.
You need to be my iPhone.
This is...
For me to grab the mouse on that to stretch it up.
Okay, up, down,
Não percebi.
forward, back, in case we go
Experimentem primeiro cá fora qual é que é. Ainda dizer quando é ainda. Experimenta primeiro cá fora qual é que é aquilo que o carro pode usar. Depois o que fazer.
Grab the line G.
Aber wir bringen Jimmy nach und wieder. Und hier zu Ende machen wir
Jimmy
machen wir uns raus. Ja, weißt du schon. Perfekt. Ja, dann ist ja das Richtige gefunden. Okay. Okay. Also ich sehe mal. Sollen wir jetzt das zweite Stück alleine? Weil das wir wollen die Stühle noch verbinden. Ich hole
Hier ist ein Mensch und da ist hier ist die Kamera. Ja, also vielleicht so 30 Zentimeter mehr ran, vielleicht hilft das schon. Also macht euch keine Sorgen darüber, dass ich glaube, was hier ist. Hier ist
Da müssen wir viel Kraft machen.
Sorry. Posso servir de modelo para o projetor que está ali? O projetor que está ali no canto. São duas velocidades diferentes. Há entradas acima de 25, é uma velocidade e o tipo de depois é outra velocidade
que é que eu tenho ventiladores.
Exato, o ventilador é mais rápido que o de entrada. O de entrada é só para mostrar uma vez que é no início do evento.
Este tem muitas letras, não tem? Ok, então agora guia-me o rato, se faz favor.
Vai para cima. Vai. Devagarinho, pera. Bocadinho só de nada para baixo. Limpo. Já está? Manda para cima.
Acabou?
Já fiz? Vamos largar.
Vê-se o texto todo?
Já. Quer dizer, tu vês
Vê-se o texto todo?
as partes, mas tens a barra também para
Tem a barra, falta muito texto. É que senão eu corto no tamanho.
É melhor que tu no tamanho, se calhar.
Então guia-me o rato até ao lado pequenino. Tens um A grande e um A pequenino, certo?
Lá em baixo, já, manda para baixo. Mais, um bocadinho para a esquerda. Mais um bocadinho. Vai. Agora para baixo. Devagarinho. Bora. Calma, devagarinho e limpo. Tá, carrega.
Já está o texto todo?
Já.
Está tudo?
Mas está com a barra mesmo.
Sim, mas dá para ver se o texto todo.
Só vou levar esta texto para o final e depois atrás.
Não dá para ver o...
Falta muito da barra para baixo.
Falta para aí um quarto.
Quantas a gente faz o intervalo?
Até se o texto todo. Ou então... Vamos tentar agarrar nesta um bocadinho. Vou tentar agarrar nesta. Vais fazer se não ou não. Se não der, voltamos a fazer do lado pequeno, está bem? Agarrar como agarramos esta.
É específico. Desculpa. O eixo não está com nada lá. Não sei se está com fundo preto ou se está desligado.
Pedro.
Sim.
Olha, é ele que está a mexer agora porque aquilo está.
Sobe um bocadinho. Está a mexer aonde? Está bom, agora esquerda, devagarinho. Agora aqui, limpo, esquerda. Já, um bocadinho para a direita. Já está. Menos.
Esquerda ou direita?
Esquerda. Está bom. Agora pega e manda para a esquerda.
Sim.
Já não, para a esquerda. Já não vai mais.
Já não vai mais? Mas foi alguma coisa ou não?
Não fiz nada.
Ok, então vamos ao lado pequeno outra vez.
Então vá, direita. Menos, esquerda, um bocadinho. Isso, para baixo. Sobe um bocadinho. Mais. Está bom, carrega. Já está melhor. Carrega outra vez, se calhar. Está ótimo. Já não tem a barra.
Ok.
Foi-se abaixo? Eu não tenho certeza daquilo que só me dá chave.
Por essa questão da decisão, é o único que tem chave.
Já está? Não, aquilo não tem vizinha. Hã? Aquilo não tem vizinha. Foi a luz. Olha, liga para o eletricista. Estás a ver? O quadro é aí, ali à esquerda.
Lie. I love you. When he mounts you, you lie. I came. When he mounts you, you lie. And you look over his shoulder with your mind's eye and you're looking for me or someone who is like me or someone who is just unlike him. And when you see that the world has changed, you shout out no. And then he becomes overwhelmed and then he comes too fast and he becomes overwhelmed and then he comes too fast and he comes too fast and then he goes to stare at me. I am the cold stone statue in the back of your mind. I am a mirror of your lust. I am a mirror of your lust. I am a mirror of your lust. The impossible possibilities that you pursue perversely. So I will be fucking you. I will be fucking your body, your mind, and your life. You see yourself for who you are and scream your name. Scream your name, God. Scream your name, baby, God. I'm a cold stone statue with my mind on my money. I got my shoes on the pavement with my hands in my pocket. I got my fingers on the trigger. Nah, I be the stone cold nigga, cause Almighty don't like nobody. And I'm gonna be GD until they set me free. See, I'll be the Blackstone gargoyle that has come to life. And come to your life with death. Come to your life with rocks and with blows. I'm a pimp and I got hoes Lambo's, $100 shoes to match my $1,000 clothes. I'm standing on your corners, I'm standing on your corners, I'm killing on your corners, and I'm dying on your corners, and I am stone cold. In fact, I am God. I have become God because you fear me. I am God. I am a cold stone statue in triplicate. I am a three-dimensional image of your hear no, see no, speak no, true God. You're a triune God of death, dumb, and dumber. The cycle of slumber. You serve me. You are dumb and dumber. Dumber. I am a cold stone statue on your windowsill, and I'm screaming to the world the truth of your life. I'm the cold stone statue with 3 red lights. I have never said no, because I cannot say no, and I never will say go, because I know that God ain't coming, because y'all ain't living shit. Y'all dying. And I'm the cold stone statue at the head of the grave. I am a tombstone. I am a poet. I tell the story, so I am calling God. From Monroe and Holman, I am calling God. From Jackson and Central Park, I am calling God. From Jackson in California, I am calling God. From Chicago Avenue in Pulaski, I am calling God. From 69th and Stony Island, I am calling God. From 95th and King Drive, I am calling God. From every intersection in every inner city where there is light, and when God comes, baby, did you come? And when God comes, Leah, did you come up? Leah. When God comes, the winds will stir the barren earth into granular sacks of fire like El Nino, wrapping you in coals and your cycle is spent. Preacher, when cause comes to effect, teach and repeat what you sow, so-called parents, you will all be
Keine Ahnung, frag Jenny. Jenny Körner. Aha. Ja. Io non siamo en outro. Não. Não, mas está muita luz ali em cima. Sim, vou ver se ela está ali
Eu sou assim, quem quiser gostar de mim sou assim. Eu sou assim, quem quiser gostar de mim sou assim. Meu mundo é hoje, não existe amanhã pra mim. E sou assim, assim morrerei um dia. Não levarei a beber.
Pessoal, tá aqui já.
Nem o peso da hipocrisia. Eu sou assim. Quem quiser gostar de mim, eu sou assim. Eu sou assim. Quem quiser gostar de mim, eu sou assim. Meu mundo é hoje, não existe amanhã pra mim. E sou assim, assim morrerei um dia. Não levarei arrependimento, nem o peso da hipocrisia. Tenho pena daqueles que se agacham até o chão, enganando a si mesmos, com dinheiro ou posição. Eu nunca tomei parte desse nome batalhão, pois sei que além de flores, nada mais vai no caixão. Eu sou assim, quem quiser gostar de mim. E sou assim, quem quiser gostar de mim. E sou assim, quem quiser gostar de mim. E sou assim, quem quiser gostar de mim.
Que eu vim cá de manhã e eu estava ainda a começar a montar tudo.
Na boa, é mesmo preocupação. Eu entretanto, liguei para ele estar a fazer.
Delay, Portuguese style.
Oh yeah. I really am grateful for your input. It's changed everything on the talk. I don't mean to keep going back to it, but it was just, it became so much less about the script after that, and I've run through it a few times this morning. It feels good. And that'll come across in the way I talk. It doesn't matter if I make a mistake. It's not, people, they don't know. People can't talk for 18 minutes perfectly without challenges like this.
Your entire talk and just enjoy it. Like they said, I also focused on finding small things. Now today,
yeah,
enjoy the talk. Okay. So final preparations.
Max? Yes, go. Are we good to go? To open the doors?
Meus olhos famintos não se cansam de te acariciar. Procuram sempre um novo ângulo pra te admirar. E sonham mergulhar na sua boca de vulcão, provar todo o calor que há na sua erupção. Escorregar nos rios claros das margens dos teus pelos e encontrar o ouro escondido que brilha em seus cabelos. Devorar a fruta que te emprestou o cheiro e talvez desfrutar de um amor puro e verdadeiro. Esquecer o espaço, o tempo e o viver. Perder a noção do que é ter a noção do perder. Se um dia eu fui alegria ao te conhecer, agora canto porque sinto a dor de não te ter. Meus olhos famintos não se cansam de te acariciar. Procuram sempre um novo ângulo pra te admirar. E sonham mergulhar na sua boca de vulcão, provar todo o calor que há na sua erupção. Escorregar nos rios claros das margens dos teus pelos e encontrar o ouro escondido que brilha em seus cabelos. Devorar a fruta que te emprestou o cheiro e talvez desfrutar de um amor puro e verdadeiro. Esquecer o espaço, o tempo e o viver. Perder a noção do que é ter a noção do perder. Se um dia eu fui alegria ao te conhecer, agora canto porque sinto a dor de não te ter.
mulata quando samba é luxo só. Quando todo seu corpo se balança, é luxo só. Tem um não sei que faz a confusão. Que ela não tem, meu Deus, é compaixão. Essa mulata quando olha, essa mulata quando dança, é luxo só. Quando todo seu corpo se balança, é luxo só. Porém, seu coração quando se agita e palpita, mais ligeiro, nunca vi compasso tão brasileiro. Eita samba, cai pra lá, cai pra cá, cai pra lá, cai pra cá. Eita samba, cai pra lá, cai pra cá, cai pra lá, cai pra cá. Mexe com as cadeiras, mulata, seu requebrado me maltrata. Olha, essa mulata quando samba é luxo só. Quando todo seu corpo se balança, é luxo só. Tem um não sei que faz a confusão. Que ela não tem, meu Deus, é compaixão. Essa mulata quando olha, essa mulata quando dança, é luxo só. Quando todo seu corpo se balança, é luxo só. Porém, seu coração quando se agita e palpita, mais ligeiro, nunca vi compasso tão brasileiro. Eita samba, cai pra lá, cai pra cá, cai pra lá, cai pra cá. Eita samba, cai pra lá, cai pra cá, cai pra lá, cai pra cá. Mexe com as cadeiras, mulata, seu requebrado me maltrata. Olha, essa mulata quando dança, é luxo só. Quando todo seu corpo se balança, é luxo só. Porém, seu coração quando se agita e palpita, mais ligeiro, nunca vi compasso tão brasileiro. Tubirum, tum dingo dingo dago dago dingo dago de daí de de de
lá na vila, nem sequer vacila ao abraçar o samba, que faz dançar os galhos do arvoredo e faz a lua nascer mais cedo. O sol da vila é triste, samba não assiste, porque a gente implora. Sol, pelo amor de Deus, não vem agora, que as morenas vão logo embora. A vila tem um feitiço sem farofa, sem vela e sem vintém, que nos faz bem. Tendo o nome de princesa, transformou o samba num feitiço indecente que prende a gente lá em Vila Isabel. Quem é bacharel não tem medo de bamba. São Paulo dá café, Minas dá leite, e a Vila Isabel dá samba. Eu sei tudo que faço, sei por onde eu passo, paixão não me aniquila. Mas tenho que dizer, modéstia à parte, meus senhores, eu sou da vila. A vila tem um feitiço sem farofa, sem vela e sem vintém, que nos faz bem. Tendo o nome de princesa, transformou o samba num feitiço indecente que prende a gente lá em Vila Isabel. Quem é bacharel não tem medo de bamba. São Paulo dá café, Minas dá leite, e a Vila Isabel dá samba. São Paulo dá café, Minas dá leite, e a Vila Isabel dá samba. Dá samba. Dá samba. Dá samba. Dá samba. Dá samba. Dá samba.
Você deve tomar banho cheiroso, você deve tomar banho cheiroso pra acabar com essa morfina e o corpo fica jeitoso, pra acabar com essa morfina e o corpo fica jeitoso. Você deve tomar banho cheiroso, você deve tomar banho cheiroso pra acabar com essa morfina e o corpo fica jeitoso, pra acabar com essa morfina e o corpo fica jeitoso. Você sente uma moleza sem ter doença nenhuma, tem a vida atrapalhada, não consegue coisa alguma. Então ouça meu conselho, ele é muito valoroso, pois não perca mais seu tempo e tome um banho cheiroso. Você deve tomar banho cheiroso, você deve tomar banho cheiroso pra acabar com essa morfina e o corpo fica jeitoso, pra acabar com essa morfina e o corpo fica jeitoso. Você deve tomar banho cheiroso, você deve tomar banho cheiroso pra acabar com essa morfina e o corpo fica jeitoso, pra acabar com essa morfina e o corpo fica jeitoso. Ele é feito de tipi, pau de Angola e punchuri, leva trevo de mulata e também patichuli, jardineira, pataqueira e também manjericão, leva rosa todo ano, amoníaco e açafrão. Você deve tomar banho cheiroso, você deve tomar banho cheiroso pra acabar com essa morfina e o corpo fica jeitoso. Pra acabar com essa morfina e o corpo fica jeitoso. Você deve tomar banho cheiroso, você deve tomar banho cheiroso pra acabar com essa morfina e o corpo fica jeitoso. Pra acabar com essa morfina e o corpo fica jeitoso.
Não, epá. Não, sabes que até nem é assim muito mal porque só conseguimos garantir uma pessoa sem. Garantir que só tens 100 pessoas nem mais. Pode só dar para o mas oficialmente só tens mais 100. É uma regra mesmo especial, sim. Ja, alles klar.
Acho que já vi.
From Kenya to Colombia, from Iraq to Korea, in slums, in schools, in prisons, and in theatres, every day people gather at TEDx events around the world to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. Today, you are part of a global conversation about our shared future. So what is this TEDx? TEDx is an initiative of the TED Conference, a non-profit devoted to ideas worth spreading. We grant free licenses to allow TED-like events to spread globally. This event today is based on the TED Conference format and ideals, but is independently organized by your local community. So please make sure to thank the team of volunteers who worked so hard on today's event. It's their ideas, dedication, and time that made it all possible. It's they who booked all the speakers, and the views you'll hear today are, of course, those of those speakers, not necessarily of TEDs. But we hope their talks spark an exciting conversation among you. This is a day for curiosity and for skepticism, for openness and for critical thinking, for inspiration and for action. The more you enter into it, the more you'll take out. And now, on with the show.
I was sitting on a cold metal chair in a hospital. You have the white walls around you, and you see doctors flashing by. And I was holding a folder that told me that I had shattered a vertebrae disc in my spine, and I might not ever walk properly again or do sports. But not just that, I had lost my entire identity as the sports guy. So how did I end up here? I was different growing up. I know, I was wondering the same. What happened to the blonde hair? Don't really know. But I was growing up different. And in Norway, growing up outside of the norm is very challenging. I was thinking in a different way. I have friends talking about wanting to wash their skin. I remember thinking vividly about wanting to wash my brain, but that's not possible now, is it? I was thinking in a different way that made me having female friends instead of having girlfriends. And then very quickly you're being labeled as gay. But when you're not, that's even worse, because I wish I was gay. At least I knew where I would be. So I was not invited for girls' parties, I was not invited for boys' parties, and suddenly you find yourself alone. And then the bullying starts pretty rapidly, and on top of that, I was a little bit chubby, and then you have a cocktail of bullying for yourself as a kid. And slowly this turns into the norm. You get used to anything, right? And suddenly, life throws me a curveball. The one person that truly saw me for me, my mom, got cancer. And even though she healed from cancer, I didn't know that at the time. And then, for me, that was kind of the final breaking point that took me to this tree. I was sitting in a tree, focusing on what and how to end my own life. When you're 13, you focus on how to do it. You go to the movies. So I was thinking, maybe I should hang myself. No, not a good idea. I was fairly strong, so I was afraid of failing even at that. Having life laugh at me, looking at me, saying, you're worthless, little, you can't even kill yourself. You're worth nothing, which was exactly the feeling that I had at the time. And then I was coming to how to do it. I was thinking, jumping. Perfect. I will succeed at that. It's simple math. If it's tall enough, you will die. But we had a lot of trees where I grew up, but we didn't really have enough tall buildings. So again, I was afraid of failing. And that gave me time to think, yes, I will go to the capital, Oslo. There's tall buildings. And that gave me time to find my lifeline. And my lifeline was sports. Because if there's one place on earth that no one really cares of who you are, it's on the football field, for example. And as long as you are the person who is scoring a goal, they will simply give you a high five. And even though we were back to square one when I entered into the locker room, I didn't really care because I was okay with that break. And then suddenly that grew strong into my identity. It also took me away from where I was living. And then slowly I managed to go to a neighboring city, to Athletes College. And now I was stuck with only being strange. You can't be bullied for being a sports jock, if everyone is. And you can't be bullying for being a nerd when the B-point average to get in. So luckily, I was just a strange one. Slowly, that took me into the next part of my life. And I found myself being in the Coast Guard. And when I was in the Coast Guard, I didn't really know what to do, like most people 2021. Still struggling with the sound? Yeah? Perfect. Happening. Oh, shit. Apparently, in my bio, they say that I'm really good at dealing with the unexpected. So I guess you will see. This is for them to prove the point. It's part of my talk. Just. All good. So. Oh, shit. Huh. Now, do you hear me now? It's a little bit more tricky, but we will go with it. So, very quickly, that took me, like I said, into the Coast Guard and then into shipping, which was where my friend was studying. And for me, it just sounded like, okay, it's a good place to start. And after just 1 year, I found myself being headhunted by one of the biggest companies in the world. And suddenly I was offered a job in the age of 21. Fantastic opportunity. But again, I was the strange one. I was known to be the sports person. I was 10 years younger than the next one in the company, but at least I had the sports person. Every time I entered onto a field, I got respect. And that at least gave me something to hold on to. And it also made me a very positive person in general, focusing on those little golden grains of positivity in life. And I truly wanted to prove myself. And that brought me back to Singapore. So, as you see, broken dreams can give you something. And for me, it gave me lessons. Because when I was sitting in the hospital in Singapore, I had experienced things that made it possible for me to overcome what the doctors said might not be possible. I was an athlete and I had a physique that made it possible for me to actually enter into 1,115 training hours in one single year and 500 hours of treatment. And I wouldn't have been able unless I had such a drive going into that. And the other element, if I hadn't overcome suicidal depression, I wouldn't have been as positive. And when the doctors told me that we've never had a patient below 50, we've never had a patient that is recovered from that kind of injury, I was thinking, great, I will be the first one. was good. So, that gave me the lessons. And, as you see, what can you learn from something like that? I obviously learned that I was on the wrong path, because I had lost my entire identity. I was sitting in that hospital at the age of 27, living the dream life of all my friends, but who was I when I lose that identity of never doing sports again? I didn't know. I had no question to that answer. So I hadn't really learned in that point in my life. And that brings us into the theory. Post-traumatic growth is the opposite of post-traumatic stress, that you can actually grow beyond your trauma. And that can actually make a profound change in your life as well. But you have to enter into learning. If not, it doesn't really take you there. So I changed the path of my life. I entered into Doctors Without Borders. First mission, Afghanistan. Try telling that to your mom. Like, I'm going to go 1 year to Afghanistan. She was like, great, good luck, I'll pack for you. No, that's not how that conversation goes. But I went, and as you can see, I also survived it, like most people do, because it's not really the way you imagine it. But I entered into a new part of life, truly learning, truly challenging myself, trying to build who I was in another country, one of the most conservative ones on the planet. And I came back to Norway, one of the most good countries on the planet in terms of living. So, now comes the question back to me that started haunting me as well. Because after 1 year in Doctors Without Borders, almost 1.5, the question comes back. What makes humans human? I didn't know as a child. That was my challenge. I honestly did not understand how the people around me was functioning, because I wasn't functioning in the same way. And that took me to seeking the answer. And that got me into 3 questions. Number 1, what has been your life's toughest challenge? How did you overcome it? And more importantly, what have you learned from that? That ended up me starting the world's first digital life experience library, where we have interviewed hundreds of people from around the world answering exactly those 3 questions in an in-depth video interview that is now being used in more than 180 countries globally. And the funny part of that is that out of those 400 people, only 7% has ever asked themselves, what did I learn? Because why is it that when we go through something traumatic, we are so eager to move beyond it? We're so eager to focus on getting on with our lives. We're talking like it never happened. We're talking like it was a different self. We're saying, oh, you know, me when I was a kid, me when I was my teenage, you know, the other me. So we forget the one thing that could have made the whole thing worth it, that's left back in the rubble. And that is that lesson that is lying somewhere under all the horrible, tough things that you've gone through, that you just want to forget. And that is what this whole theory is about. You have to look for that to be able to carry it further in life. So, I never asked what I learned from my challenges in the beginning, but then slowly I had to start asking myself that question. What did I actually learn to redefine who I was in this whole aspect? So, now, the question that can turn trauma into growth is, what have you learned? So remember that maybe the answer to one of the toughest questions that we all have might lie in your own life. We all seek this knowledge from somewhere else. We're following someone, we are paying attention to a book, we're reading, we're looking, we're going to Bali, we're going to a temple, we're searching for something that has always been exactly where it all started. You and your own life and what you have gone through and what you have learned from that. And even more fascinatingly in all this, going through this process, all the challenges that I went through and the lessons that I carried made me who I am today, that made it possible for me to do the project that I have done. I've gone through so many challenges myself, I've just mentioned a few, that makes it possible for me to relate to the person that is sitting in front of me when I'm doing the interviews. I am different, and I was bullied for it when I was a kid, but that's what makes it possible for me now to sit with a woman and talk to her about rape, even though I'm a 190 tall guy, which is quite a challenge for her to open up about that as an example. And on top of that, I have managed to learn the endurance you need to be an entrepreneur. Because for the ones who believe that's easy, I dare you to try it for a couple of years and see how it goes. It's not easy, but it is fun and defining. And more importantly, I want to leave you with the what if question. Because what if we take it one step further than this? What if you can actually find your passion through your trauma and find the empowerment in that? So I challenge all of you today to reflect and to dare to look backwards in your own life and to stop in 2019. That's quite challenging in itself. And see what your challenges and your traumas taught you. And then maybe you will find the answer to the question that I know many of you have. And that is, what is your passion? Only you hold the answer to that question. So dare to reflect and search your own life. Now I think this stopped working. So thank you very much for listening. Obrigado. Whew. Oh, it's so nice to be finished. Yes?
But Jimmy, you're the host. You need to go back.
What?
You need to go back on stage.
To go back on stage? But why? I'm finished, no? No?
You are our host.
I'm the host. Oh, sorry. I am so sorry. Okay, so I thought I was finished. It was so nice to just sit down and relax, and I was supposed to have this little mic on my head, and I'm holding it. I guess this is my workout today. Didn't have it. So, without further ado, if he's ready behind the door, we never know today, you know. We will take the challenges straight on, or if I'll crack a joke if he's not here. So, now we will have the former musician and actor, Paul Falk, will enter the stage and tell us about his what if and the lessons that he has learned with his own life. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Paul Falk to the stage.
Can I have the presenter? I am a dreamer, and I always will be. I mean, everybody needs a big dream, right? But what exactly is a big dream? Let's talk about my big dream. As a child, I always dreamed of being the biggest pop star in the whole world. And it worked. With Ed Sheeran, not me. And here comes the truth. My dream is childish and maybe even unattainable. Aim high, dream big. That's what all the acting coaches from Los Angeles or New York told me. And I followed their advice. So then, it was also an Oscar I was supposed to win. And it worked! With so many others, but not me. But I worked as hard as I could to chase my dream. I released my first solo album, played over 500 concerts, and appeared in over 20 movies and soap operas. And that with the age of 20. Taking an objective look, I would suppose that it's quite a career for a 20-year-old. But back then, it was far from enough for me. You know, I couldn't see all the achievements and my success because I always thought about my big dream. So nothing was enough. Being played in German radio stations with your own music, Not enough. Playing a role in Germany's most famous crime series? Not enough. And standing in front of a 50,000 people audience? Not enough. 2 years ago, I woke up and was deaf on my left ear. I thought my career's over. Well, luckily, it was just a sudden hearing loss, and now I hear perfectly fine. But that was my final wake-up call. And I finally realized that I got lost in my dream. And looking back now, everything was kind of worthless because I was not happy the whole time. You know, in German we have the saying, der Weg ist das Ziel, which means that your path is the goal, and maybe even the destination. But I wasn't able to see this destination because I always wanted to aim higher, further, faster. And from that moment on, where I had this Beethoven experience in my ear, I no longer lived in the world of dreams, but in the world called reality. And that's great because I experience every step I make, good or bad. I really enjoy my artist life, and I love my life. I wanted to start my TED Talk with an experience that changed my life. And it was my sudden hearing loss because not only was I confronted with reality, I also had to handle reality. And handling reality made me become a worker. I work now. I'm trying to get the best out of me. Well, I'm not getting best right away, but step by step. And even as an artist, this makes total sense. Now it's getting funny. Handling reality, step by step, down to earth attitude. So wait, which industry was I working in again? The thing is that creativity can be dangerous. Dangerous because you can lose yourself in creativity. And that's what I did before I had a sudden hearing loss. I was just being creative, but without a plan. And to be honest, being the next Ed Sheeran is probably not the best plan. Being the best Paul is the best version of myself. So we should start looking at our lives. But for that, here comes the bigger picture. You need focus. For almost everything in life, but especially in creativity, because creativity is a jungle. And in a jungle, you need to know where you are. Otherwise, you have a problem. So, what if creativity needs focus? I would love to let you enter my world in the next few minutes, understand the life of a songwriter, a music producer, and my most important ingredient, creativity. And as I just told you, creativity needs focus. So I will illustrate the importance of focus with 3 examples from my work, starting with first, focus regarding choices, second, focus to survive in the music industry, and third, focus within a songwriting process. Let's talk about focus regarding choices. In order to answer this question, I would like to take you back to the year 2018 and exactly this moment. Three very emotionalized men can be seen because they just played their last concert after 10 years of successful band history. And that's because the person in the middle wanted to break up, which was probably the most difficult decision in his life. Next to the band life, which mostly took place on the weekends, I went to school. And about the same time my acting career journey started, my band journey started. Like I said in the beginning, I felt like being the next Ed Sheeran and Leonardo DiCaprio at the same time. My master disaster plan. And next to my band career, which went amazing, I achieved almost nothing with all my other careers because I did not have a focus. And with achieving, I do not mean earning money, because that went well. With achieving something, I mean seeing and feeling the steps you make in your career and being happy with them. Believe me, playing just a dead guy lying on the floor the whole day in Germany's most famous crime series. You get a lot of money for that. But what I completely forgot is that I was not only playing a dead guy, I was also treated like a dead guy. And that's because my focus was not my acting career. The people didn't see me as an actor. They saw me as the guy trying to be an actor, a band member, and a solo artist at the same time. And that's just not possible, or really, really seldom at a larger stage in your career. You know, all the creativity processes that go along with being an actor, a band member, a musician were not fulfilling because they were not target-oriented. And with the increasing success of our band, I've noticed that it does not satisfy me because it didn't help me with my career. And getting more and more acting jobs, I realized that being a dead guy is not the thing I want to do my whole life. Realizing this had a bitter taste and led me to the decision to leave the band and quit my acting career 1 year later. I'm telling you now that the guy on the left is my father and mentor Dieter, and the guy on the right, my beloved brother Max. And telling you that without the band, we wouldn't have grown into such a strong and harmonious family. Maybe you understand how difficult and emotional my decision was. Well, for over 2 years now, I focused my work being a music producer and songwriter, and I'm really happy about it. So how did this focus on my career help me being more creative? Or let's frame it that way, more efficient in being creative. Let's talk about focus to survive in the music industry. Let's dive into a typical creativity process in my life, which is writing and producing a pop song. But where do we start? And there it is again, the F word. Focus. What did you thought? Because writing a pop song starts with focus. And the focus is the structure of a song. Because in modern pop music or mainstream, nothing is and should be new. That means the topic of the lyrics you come up with happened before 1,000 times. The chord sequence you come up with happened before 1,000 times. And the way the song sounds later happened before 1,000 times. So now everybody's asking, why not doing something completely new? Well, because the human being is a creature of habit. This does not mean that we cannot write something new, and there comes the no, because we have to come up with a new melody in our own story, and that's the creative part. We should have fun, let off steam, maybe even think outside the box for a moment or two. But all this based on a structure that's well known. And the more famous the structure is we work on, the more mainstream is our product. Well, the music market, like almost every other business, has become so fast-moving that it has become the rule to get there as fast as possible. This means that usually you finish a song and demo production on 1 day. And if I tell you now that as a songwriter, you get approximately something between 0.002 and 0.008 cent per Spotify stream, you know why I'm working on efficiency. But for that, I need a team. More specific, a songwriting team. So let's talk about focus within a songwriting process. I usually work with a team of 3 people, and every person has a role and area for which he or she is responsible. The first person focuses more on creating and producing a song. That's mostly me. The second person focuses more on the lyrics, and the third person is completing the team by focusing more on the melody. As you just heard, I used the word focus again, because by having 3 people in a team, you reach your goal of a finished song much faster without losing quality. Of course, you have to get along with the people you write or work with. Often people are right or work with our friends, because being creative is only possible in a safe environment. And nevertheless, you have to deal with pressure. But I found out that pressure can be a really good thing. Isn't that strange? But let's be honest. Pressure forces us to work goal-oriented and hard. Pressure makes us nervous. And a certain basic nervousness makes us understand the importance of a thing. And pressure demands focus. What should I finish first? What is more important and what not? That's why we have to deal with pressure, because pressure is everywhere in the world of work. Sometimes more, sometimes less. I think that I have the right to talk about pressure because having a sudden hearing loss, I realized what too much pressure can do with you. And the problem was that I put too much pressure on myself. And that's bad pressure and something you can change. The other type of pressure is pressure you get from the outside. And that will always happen if you work hard and try to be successful. So I can highly recommend that you don't put too much pressure on yourself. Try to work with the pressure you get from the outside. Now that I gave you 3 examples from my work where focus is absolute relevant, I want to round up my talk by telling you what happened by having focus on the 3 areas I just mentioned. It might sound strange in the first, but let me tell you how focus opened doors for me. Interesting is that I never really wanted to write in teams because I wanted to do everything by myself. Everything. My creativity process was the holy grail. And I only wanted to write pop music and music that I feel. But with this attitude, guys, you don't get far. So I decided to be more open. And not only have so many great things happened with this decision, but I have found out that music is my job and profession now, and not a hobby anymore. And that's the edge between fun and work. Because in a profession, you have to work goal-oriented and hard to be successful. In a profession, you need a lot of people around you to help you get there faster and better. Well, that's the typical networking everybody's talking about. And in a profession, you often have to do things you don't want to do. And the funny thing is that my most successful song until now is a German Schlager song. Schlager is the very catchy, happy-go-lucky music, and in Germany, very popular. And to be honest, not my cup of tea. Be that as it may, but if I hadn't changed my attitude, I wouldn't have a successful song right now. And most of my music productions wouldn't exist. Of course, you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day. But what the most people forget, the mirror has to be bought first. And that's where my career started to get serious, because at the end of the month, you should be able to make a living off your job, dream job or not. And that's something you tend to forget if you are creative. And that's why creativity needs focus. Well, the first door that opened up to me was Schlager. But it was not the only door. Another door is called production music, an increasingly important model in the music industry. Production music is the kind of music you hear when you see a TV spot play a game, and also more and more the music you hear when you see a Netflix or Amazon Prime production. Interesting is that you can write and produce songs and do not depend on the artist's fame, because the music is selected whether it fits to the medium or not, whether it's good or not. And that's actually what music should be all about anyway. What if creativity needs focus? Looking back now, I've dealt with my career, my profession, my mistakes, and my most important ingredient, creativity, in a completely different way. I found out that my life before my sudden hearing loss was non-fulfilling. Working on 3 careers, an actor, a band member, a solo artist, non-fulfilling. all the creativity processes non-fulfilling, and all the success non-fulfilling. Now, my life is fulfilling again. And that's just because life, and my life is creativity, needed focus. Thank you very much.
You see, he's a rule breaker. He goes off on the wrong side of the microphone. Come on, do it again. Come on, German style. On the right side. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for Paul again. But Paul, before we let you off the hook, I will ask the most stupid question on the planet that all sports journalists ask someone that has just entered the finish line, that are almost dying, short out of breath, and it's like, what do you feel right now?
I'm relieved. I'm very relieved, and it was such a great experience standing there in front of you. I was very nervous, but now I'm feeling happy, you know?
Fulfilled.
Fulfilled, yeah.
Focused.
Absolutely focused, yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Another round of applause for Paul Falk. So, ladies and gentlemen, this will be a very short introduction, and you will understand why very soon. So, welcome to the stage, Mariama Kamara.
When I first walk on this stage, what do you think about me? What was your first impression? I'm here to tell you that I am a dreamer. I was born in the Republic of Guinea, West Africa, where an average person lives under $1.25 a day. I grew up in a country where we struggle to make a living, and only few women own businesses. Both of my parents are very well educated. My father is a politician. My mother, an entrepreneur. Somehow, they thought that the best way to guarantee our future was to make us do our own thing. Then, I came to New York City in 2001 with just $100 US and my American dream. Me, like every other immigrant, when you come to New York, you are so excited because all the things that you see on TV, you think everything is going to flow, that you're going to make it right there. I was excited. And then I fall in love. My husband was totally different from who I am. He was a white American. At first, everything was so beautiful, so wonderful. I started working in the fashion industry as a fashion model. Everything was so beautiful. But deep inside of me, I was really nervous. I was only 18 years old. I was scared, and I couldn't speak a word in English. I'm even shocked right now that I can speak some English word. I was a bit terrified from the new life that was ahead of me. My country, Guinea, we have no skyscrapers. Now I'm in the city with so much light. Then suddenly, everything crashes. My husband left me. And that day, I only had $20. I had a choice to work hard or to use my beauty to go for men and make an easy way. I walked that day in the park and I sat down. Today it's easy to tell you this story, But that day, I was broken. I was crying. And I was asking God, why me? Why did you bring me to this country to suffer? Why am I here now? I'm not able to pay my bills. I knew that the way I was raised, that I can never call back my mom and dad to tell them to give me something. I knew that I had to do this by myself. Suddenly, I guess God answered me. My phone rang, and it was a friend of mine who said someone was looking for somebody to work. Even though I was broken and hurt, I took the courage to go and start working. I was a stylist in the store on Madison Avenue. I had to work with all that pain that was in me. Every time a client will leave the store, I will go in the bathroom and cry and wash my tears again and come back in that same room. I learned right there that I needed to build my own character. You know, many people at that point, they want to give up. They want to do something easy. I didn't want to do that. I came from a strong woman background. I came from a mother who raised us, who built her own businesses. She's one of the first women entrepreneurs in our country. I just couldn't let that go. I continued my journey, and I fall in love with makeup. I know it's a lot of young people here today, and sometimes when you have a dream, when you're growing up, you have so much things that you want to explore, and sometimes people may tell you, you do too many things. Why you want to do all these things? I wanted to discover what I love. I didn't want to follow what people was telling me to do. Somehow, I was always judged. Either because of my accent. I'm sure when I started talking, they're like, what is this accent? People always judge me. It was not one time that I walked in a room that I didn't hear something. I continued to do my journey, and I started working for MAC Cosmetic. I was totally in love of working at MAC. And each time I was working, clients would walk in and say, you do not belong here. But deep inside of me, I knew also that I didn't belong there anymore. I was struggling every day to keep myself working for this company. I loved the company, but it was just not for me anymore. I knew I was destined for something greater. And then something happened. I got fired. So sometime in life, when you face challenges, don't tell yourself it's over. Sometimes when some things happen to you, it's basically to open something greater. If I wasn't fired at MAC Cosmetic, maybe I wouldn't become the woman that I am today. I was terrified. I had some money put on the side to actually pay my bills, but nothing else. But there is something that was inside of me that I always wanted to do. And I started asking myself a question. Are you going to continue to work to make money, or are you going to follow your passion? Your passion is what is the most important. Choose your passion first before you choose money. And my passion, I was obsessed about empowering women. And that day when I walked in, my little sister who was 16, she was in the kitchen. Just to tell you, when my husband left me, just to go back, I was broken. I had to constantly hear that I wasn't good enough, that I would never become anything. Or then maybe one day, that person will be the one who's going to make a living for me. And I talked to my sister. We had a dream. We were just two immigrant girls in America. We had $18 only to start our organization, and that was just to register on GoDaddy. We call our organization first, Girls to the Max, There is No Limit. We wanted to do something to empower women. As soon as we do that, we get a phone call about a person who said, you need to put this down right now, because it's very similar to my company. My little sister, Isata, then, she was maybe 16, 17, but she started to study law. She was so in love with law. She picked the phone and pretended to be our lawyer. So she saved us, but we end up putting an extra X. So if you go on Google and you put Girls to the Max, you'll notice that it has an extra X. So for me, I told myself, wow, now I'm entering a new field, a business world. Maybe it will be different. Here I am. I had to face something else. Now, people find me too ambitious. And also, they didn't think that I fit in. Imagine dressed like this at the UN. Or dressed like this in a very corporate room where people come and look at you and say, okay, what she's doing here? You know, everybody's wearing suit and I'm here like this. But I refuse to change myself. To me, a true person is somebody who sticks to who they are. It's not because of this that I don't have something here. So they judged me, but it didn't bother me. I continue to share my story with people I thought would really empower me and tell me to continue doing what I'm doing, but they all put me down. I realized that I have nobody but myself. So I started to cheer myself up. I started to build my own character. I knew in order for me to succeed and to build what I have, I needed to prove to people that looks is nothing. That I built my organization, There is No Limit Foundation. Today, we have 300 women that we have sponsored in our country to start their own small businesses. We have provided almost $500,000 of medical supply when Ebola started in our country. We have educated girls to go to school, all with that one dream that we have, something we started with $18. Today, I'm also the founder of Mariama Fashion Production. My company today is one of the leading companies in textile working for international brands. And the dress I'm wearing today is something that I'm very proud of. I purposely wear it today because I know you're here, but this talk is being screened live to show those people who underlooked me many years ago that it doesn't matter where you come from. What is most important is where you expect to be. And if I have to do it again, I wouldn't change my story for a second. I would still continue to live what it was. But I want people to start giving opportunities to young people. Not to look at people just because of how they are. And I want you all to know today, because I don't know your story. Either you're rich, poor, black, or rich. Either your dream is small or bigger than mine. I want you to go for it. I want you to know that you are enough and there is no limit to what you can achieve in life. Thank you.
So, now I'm back on. So now you understand why we had a little short introduction for Mariama, so that you could just judge her. Felt good, right? Judging someone and then getting a tiny bit of the story. So, the stupid question, how does it feel right now after walking off stage?
It feels good. It feels good. And I really hope, for me, it feels good because I think not many people will connect with my story, but I'm sure one or two people in this room will connect with what I'm saying. Either it's for you, either it's for your daughter, either it's for your friends. I want you to know next time you see a person who looks like me, to give them a chance. And really to know that it's not because you're coming from money, then you have to count on someone or your parents. You can build your own story. You are you, and you are different, and you should accept yourself.
True that. Another applause for Mariama. And not just that, I have the pleasure of knowing you as well. So you are also a very kind person, and not just that, but an extremely hardworking person that is inspiring people all over the world, no matter what you do, just through your social media as well. So for the ones who want to follow the speakers, remember to check them out as well, because this is just one talk. All of us live normal lives, normal, whatever is normal. We live lives at least, and obviously we share a lot of the things we do, and so does Mariama, and of course her organization as well. So check that out and give her one last round of applause on the way out. Good speaker. Now, for the last speaker of this session, I want you to welcome a young man that is as normal, as unique as everyone else. He was normal, now he's unique, maybe he was unique, and now he's normal. Who knows? You will find out and you will judge yourself when you welcome Mr. Jacob Hill.
What if we worked with criminals to make society safer? When you hear the word criminal, what image comes to mind? Growing up, I only ever had reference to The Shawshank Redemption, Prison Break, or most recently, Orange is the New Black. In fact, I thought prisoners and criminals were this tall, with bald head, a scar down the face, missing the teeth, and the words love and hate tattooed on their knuckles. That's what I thought a typical criminal was, until I went to prison. Growing up, I had everything I ever wanted in life. And by the time I was 21 years old, I'd started my own business. I was studying at university. I'd received hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of investment, all sorts of awards and accolades. Richard Branson even supported me and my idea. However, by the time I was 22, faced with crippling debt, I made the choice, the idiotic choice, to sell drugs. I was arrested and put in the police cells for 18 hours. In the police cells, I had water, I had a blanket, I had food, I had a toilet. I was okay. However, my parents, who had their homes raided by police officers early that morning, were not. Can you imagine being in their position, wondering what they must be going through? The fear, the upset, the disappointment. Imagine how you'd feel in that situation. I feel my parents might have had it worse because my mum was a police officer and my dad a retired drugs investigator. That bit's not meant to be funny. And when I was released from the prison cells, from the police cells, who were the first people to pick me up? It was my parents. I was rightfully sentenced to 28 months in prison. And my first and only reference of prison, as I've told you, is The Shawshank Redemption. I thought I was too delicate to go to prison. It doesn't help that my cellmate was called Mr. Big. And when inside, I expected to find anger, hatred, animosity, danger. But what I found were men leaving their prison cells every morning, going to a workshop, going to education, and bettering themselves. They wanted to improve their life. They wanted to turn their life around because people were in there for a whole range of reasons. Yes, people go to prison for greed. But the most part is people go to prison due to poor mental health or addiction. They commit crimes based on that. And when I was released from prison, I wanted to do something. So I started an organisation that supports people with criminal convictions to secure employment and turn their back on crime for good. The biggest barrier to people with convictions turning their life around is hopelessness. They do not believe a society will welcome them back. They do not believe they will get a job, that they will secure accommodation. So why bother? And when I found that in England, almost 1 in 2 people reoffend within 12 months from their release from prison, I knew we had a real problem. So I started to look out to the rest of the world to find a solution to our crime problem. What if we brought together the best bits of all the criminal justice sectors across the world and put them into one, the ultimate rehabilitative criminal justice sector? Well, today, we're going to do just that. As a group, we're going to go through the 5 stages of the criminal justice sector.
starting with breaking the law, going through to being imprisoned in Norway, coming to the end of your sentence in Brazil, being released to Singapore, where you'll be welcomed by your community, before securing employment in England. I'm really excited to bring these parts together. So shall we begin our world